Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Walsh. I just have a couple of questions for you, if I may. Could you just tell us how many of your staff have been advised that they are at risk of redundancy, please?
So the process, as you know, is that we advise the elected representatives, and that's a combination of the individual Section 188 letters which go out to people. We have had general briefings with a number of staff. We've invited all of our staff to attend general briefings. To the best of my knowledge, the trade unions have encouraged people not to attend those briefings. I hope that won't be the case. So we don't advise any individuals because it is the subject of consultation. The numbers have been made clear to the elected representatives of the areas involved.
So just so I'm clear, you're saying that you have not written to any members of your staff concerning the redundancies or changes directly. It's all been done through trade unions. Is that correct?
The letter, the Section 188, was made public by, I don't know who made it public, but it was made public. I've read details of them in the newspapers. So we have had, as required to do, we have sent the details to the elected representatives, and we have had briefing sessions with groups of people.
Thank you, but
I'm not aware of it.
My specific question is, have you written to any staff specifically to advise them of the changes that are happening in British Airways, and specifically?
I don't know. I'd have to check. I know that emails have been sent to people, but it's on a collective basis. I don't believe we've written to any individual to specifically identify them as an individual.
May I ask you to maybe write back to the committee with the answer to that question, because from a telephone conference I had with a number of your employees over the weekend, it appears that some have been receiving letters and some haven't. So it would be really beneficial for us if you wouldn't mind just articulating that clearly. That would be much appreciated. My next question is, how are you determining the staff who are at risk of redundancy here?
That will be done in consultation with the elected representatives.
Okay, so could you just be clear whether or not are we talking about voluntary redundancy or enforced redundancies here?
As I say, that will be the subject of consultation with the elected representatives, and we would hope that working together we can do what everybody wants to do, which is to steer a sensible course through this challenge and to reduce the impact in any way that we can, but critically to ensure that we have a viable business coming out of this.
Mm. So in terms of your determination of staff who are at risk, what you mean to say is that you are not differentiating in any way, shape or form between grade or length of service of your employees. Is that correct?
No, I didn't say that. I said, and I need to be clear that the issues will be the subject of consultation between the elected representatives and the management in the areas involved.
Okay, so if I'm clear, because I think what we really need to understand here is, are you targeting redundancies to your staff based on their age or length of service in any way?
I'm absolutely clear with you that we will comply with all legislation as it exists. The consultation will be good faith consultation with the elected representatives, and all of these issues will be the subject of consultation with those representatives as soon as possible.
So the fact that your more established members of staff who have received correspondence from the union that suggests that they may be subject to redundancy, and your members of staff who are a lot newer, who have a shall we say a lot less period of service or length of service, are receiving direct letters saying the business is going through change, but does not specifically state that you are that they are subject to redundancy. How would you how would you respond to that? Because to me, looking at that from an independent perspective, it does appear that the workforce has been segmented and that you have a targeted approach as to who may or may not be subject to redundancy.
Well, you referred to correspondence from the trade union to people. I've not seen that, and any correspondence from the trade unions to the people has nothing to do with British Airways. So I can't
just to
comment on that.
if I may, just to be clear, the correspondence I was referring to was actually, I think, from your own head. I think it was from the chief pilot, and it was a forwarded letter from your own, I think, head of industrial relations. I'm very happy to provide the specific letters afterwards if you'd like them. But those were the ones I was referring to.
As I've said to you, I can assure you that we will engage in good faith consultation with the elected representatives on all of these issues.
But you're not categorically ruling out that different groups of staff are being targeted potentially for redundancy?
I am not saying anything other than it will be the subject of consultation between the elected representatives and the management, as is required under UK legislation.
So I'd just like to share with you that I think it's fair to say that approximately 90% of those who've been in touch with me have more than 20 years length of service with British Airways. And I think it's also fair to say that the correspondence is clearly different. And I think if it would be helpful for me to share that with you, I'd be very happy to, if you'd like to get in touch, or one of your office would like to get in touch. My final question, if I may, is this. Earlier on, you said that, this is necessary, that you have to progress these redundancies because of the economic situation. And that was the primary driver for your redundancies, that you've declared that 12,000 will be required. If that is the case, if this is purely because of the economic situation, could you just tell us why that requires the grievance and disciplinary procedure to be changed as part of the consultation?
So it is the sole reason, not the primary driver, that this consultation has taken place, to ensure, as I've said, that we can have a business that survives through this crisis and can survive in a changed environment that will exist post this. The industry has changed, and anybody who believes that we're going back to the way things were in 2019 misunderstands the scale of the challenge that is being faced by the industry. So the consultation is on ensuring that British Airways can take all of the measures that are necessary to survive through this and can survive beyond it. In an environment where
I'm grateful
significantly weakened.
I'm grateful for the point, but I, with respect, I don't think you've really answered the question. Why does the grievance and disciplinary procedure require to be changed in this situation? Because it feels, and I think a lot of your staff feel, that actually this is commercial predatory on the part of British Airways, and I think they're deeply saddened to be in this situation. I recognise the economic pressures and the situation that we have to deal with, or you have to deal with, but is it really necessary for things like the grievance and disciplinary procedure to be changed as part of this?
I'm deeply saddened that we have to do this, and I can assure you that what we are doing through this consultation will be to ensure that this business can survive, and not just survive in the short term, but that this business is in shape to survive an environment that will be significantly different. And all of these issues will be subject to the consultation with elected representatives. We enter into those consultations in good faith. I expect, I fully believe that the elected representatives will do so equally, and that together we will be able to shape British Airways to ensure that we can be in a position to survive going forward.
With respect, you still haven't answered the question. Why do you want to change disciplinary and grievance policy? Because there's nothing to do with that.
Sorry, it has. With respect, we need to ensure that all of the measures that will be in place in the future at British Airways are relevant to a changed environment in which we'll be operating in. And all of these issues will be subject to the consultation with the elected representatives. And I would expect them to be able to demonstrate to us where they believe some of the proposals that the management team may have may not be necessary. And I fully expect the management team to take on board all of the suggestions through the consultation period that is made, so that together we'll shape British Airways in the best way possible to ensure that not only do we get through this, because there's no point in surviving this in the short term, only to collapse once we get out of it in an environment that will be significantly different, with a balance sheet that will be significantly different as a result of the changes that we've done in the short term.
Mr. Walsh, thank you very much indeed.